I share with you this reading from the letter of James. Every generous act of giving with every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the God of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. In fulfillment of God's own purpose, God gave us birth by the word of truth, so that we would become a kind of first fruits of God's creatures. You must understand this, my beloved. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For your anger does not produce God's righteousness. Therefore, rid yourselves of all sordidness and rank growth of wickedness, and welcome with meekness the implanted word that has the power to save your souls. But be doers of the word, and not merely hearers who deceive themselves. For if any are hearers of the word and not doers, they are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and, on going away, immediately forget what they were like. But those who look into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and persevere, being not hearers who forget, but doers who act, they will be blessed in their doing. If any think they are religious and do not bridle their tongues, but deceive their hearts, their religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God is this: to care for orphans, to care for widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. May God add a blessing to the reading of this word. The book of James is a wisdom teaching. And at the core of the book of James is a provocative concept. It's countercultural almost, because what it teaches us is our God gives freely. Our God is astoundingly generous. And the reason for that giving is an astounding love with which all of creation came to be and is held and is. God gives generously and without reproach, and God is the source of every good gift, including the gifts of relationship and friendship and caring community and music and erotic love and the riotous beauty of the earth. And to give witness to that, I want to share with you the poetry from the Hebrew Scriptures celebrating the gift of God's abundant love and the fecundity of life. Do you get to use that word often in a sentence? I like it. This is in the middle of the Bible. It is holy. The voice of my beloved, look, he comes, leaping over the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing in at the windows, looking through the lattice. My beloved speaks and says to me, arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. For now the winter is past. The rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of singing has come, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vines are in blossom, and they give forth fragrance. Arise, my fair one, and come away. The writer of James seeks to remind us that God's generosity, God's creativity, God's love of all of creation is the ground of our very being, and that system of generosity and grace was not given to us as a sort of setup for us to mess up, right? To prove that we really are bad people. God gave us all that is good with a belief that we are good too. Maybe that's enough to say today, but I'll keep going. If we live grounded in an awareness of abundance and of blessing, our very relationship with others, with the world around us, and with our own selves is opened, and it is held by a power that is more expansive than the clutch of fear and the pervasive sense of scarcity that marketers want us to feel. Can I hear an amen to that? In today's text, the writer of James is not denigrating or demeaning anger. Anger has a place, and it is a powerful teacher. But rather, the reading from today seems to remind us that our anger can become disordered. And this I know really well, and maybe you know too. Anybody else have an issue with anger sometimes? The teaching from the book of James is gift for us. Because, as Eugene Peterson puts it, we're instructed to lead with our ears, follow up with our tongues, and let anger straggle along in the rear. And we are to remember that our relationships, our thoughts, our intentions, and our words are meant to be infused with our belief that we are created good, that God created all blessing, and that we are astoundingly gifted by a God who believes we are called to be instruments of grace in this world. As the NRSV speaks it, we are supposed to care for the orphans and the widows. And in that culture, those were the most vulnerable people. So we are to extrapolate that if we are living our faith with a sense that there's enough for all people, the most vulnerable in our midst will be cared for. We are to give to the needy in the same way that God gives to all creatures. I want to say a word about that. 4 years ago, my husband, Cooper Wiggin, was given a challenging health diagnosis. Cooper's a retired United Methodist pastor and the love of my life. We had initially thought that the diagnosis was Lewy body dementia. And now we know with great joy that Cooper only has Parkinson's. Who would guess that a Parkinson's diagnosis would be a cause for joy? And really, it's not. But it is. It could have been so much worse. It was in the beginning days of the pandemic when this diagnosis came across a Zoom screen, because that's the only way we could see a doctor. And we were living in Rochester, Minnesota. We had grandchildren an hour and a half away, and we wanted to be part of their lives on a casual basis because it turns out they didn't want me to live in their basement. And we sought the support of our beloved children, 5 out of 6 of whom live within a couple of miles of here, and our friends, because there was so much we did not know. So I asked for a change of appointment at that time. And it was hard. Beyond the diagnosis, which was devastating, I really loved the church I was serving in Rochester. If you need to go to Mayo, or you're in Rochester for any reason, go to Christ United Methodist Church in downtown Rochester. I gotta tell you, it's a stunning place. But I needed to leave there because I needed to be with family and I needed to support my family and make the most of life. So I asked for a half-time appointment, and I was granted that by the conference, and we moved to Minneapolis. And we were saturated with grief, and we were full of gratitude at the same time because we could be close to the people we love. I became disheartened during my appointment and decided I just didn't have the heart for ministry anymore. So I decided to retire. And I did retire. In the United Methodist Church, you have to ask for permission to retire. There's a whole bit of things you have to do in order to retire, and I officially retired. I knew at the time I wasn't done with life and with work, but I was done with trying to lead a church for a time, by choice. Well, that lasted 6 months. I started to feel stirrings of needing to do something. So I shared that with the cabinet, and I was asked, would I go and serve as an interim at Mankato Centenary Church? And I agreed, mostly because I wanted to know if I still felt called to ministry. And the people of Centenary, United Methodist Church in Mankato, helped me remember how much I love being a pastor. So when I got the call in March, would I consider going to Hennepin Avenue United Methodist Church to serve as lead pastor there? I agreed. And I want you to know why. It has so much to do with the wisdom from the book of James and my grounding as a Wesleyan theologian. And it comes down to this: I am so grateful for the abundance of God's love. I am so grateful for the abundance of God's love. I am, on most days, so keenly aware of the miracle that is living and loving and learning. And I have to engage my life in ways that contribute to participating in creating systems in this world where wonder and grace and awe are celebrated and named and practiced and shared, and where the so much that is good in life is magnified, and where justice is cultivated, and where anger at injustice is used to move us from the beautiful confines of our sanctuaries into the world, in order that the most vulnerable in this world have what they need in order to feed and house their children and find health care and community and welcome in this world. And the earth is reverenced as a place where flowers grow on the land. And I do not always lead with my ears, follow up with my tongue, and let anger straggle behind me. I'm telling you, pray for me, because my sense of intensity around the fact that this church has so much to offer can sometimes wind me pretty tight. So the lesson from the book of James and the reading from the Song of Songs is an antidote for me who desperately wants justice and healing now. And perhaps for you, because these texts remind me of my need to hold on to this: God delights in our being. There is enough in this world. Abundance is real. And the song of the turtle dove is no less real than the cry of the oppressed. I don't have to do this justice-making work alone. I have you, and you are mighty, and you are beloved. And I have the United Methodist Movement, and I have the Downtown Clergy Alliance, and I have kindreds across this land who are leaning into doing something about the practiced cruelty being preached through our airwaves in these days. Sentences that have to do with walling people away from grace and shipping out people we can't agree with. what I want to say on this Labor Day is this. Thank you. Thank you for being laborers in this God-blessed world. Thank you for standing shoulder to shoulder and heart to heart with others who believe that there is enough in this world, enough love, enough money, enough food, enough compassion, enough courage to heal broken systems and repair broken hearts. God is in this, and so are we. Amen.